is the roof. Let's make it happen. Let's keep moving forward.
The ceiling is the roof,
They didn't
Jalen
know
Rose.
if they wanted to cheer or cringe.
The ceiling is the roof. We say this all the time on
We're
Jalen and
laughing
Jacoby.
about it.
We love it so much that we made it a segment. It's time for the ceiling is the roof.
The ceiling is the roof. Let's make it happen.
So let me explain, Jalen Rose. The ceiling is the roof. So we're going to name players for whom 2018, the ceiling is the roof. They could explode. They could take the leap. They could catapult themselves into superstardom. For you, who are some players that 2018, the ceiling is the roof?
Last year in this conversation, it probably would have been Victor Oladipo and Donovan Mitchell. This year, I'm going to take two guys on a contending team that I predict are going to win the conference and push the Golden State Warriors. They both went number 3 in the draft in successive years. Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum.
Oh, okay.
When you bring back Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving, that completes your lineup. And those guys are going to be playing up front. They have the versatility on defense to do a lot of switching. They also could both finish at the hoop. They both are really good three-point shooters. Not only will they be all-stars, but they're going to be game-changing players for the Boston Celtics this year.
They're really like prototypes of a modern basketball player that can guard almost any position, especially Jaylen Brown is great on the defensive end. But if you see them catapult themselves up this year, won't the return of Gordon Hayward sort of like hinder their growth instead of help it?
Look at it like this. A handful of years ago, the Atlanta Hawks won 60 games.
Mm-hmm.
They have 4 All-Stars. That's going to happen this year with the Boston Celtics.
Wow.
And those two guys will be a part of that February Fest.
The ceiling is the roof
The
for the
ceiling
Celtics.
is the roof. Let's make it happen.
For me, 2018, the ceiling is the roof for the Nuggets backcourt. Gary Harris and Jamal Murray. Casual NBA fans not that familiar with these two, but they ball. Like, they ball. And you add in Isaiah Thomas, who knows what his health is going to be like, but he'll develop himself into playing shape towards the end of the season with Thomas and Harris and Murray all back there. I really think that this time next year, Gary Harris and Jamal Murray will be household names.
And also, we'll be talking about the Denver Nuggets were in the playoffs. They're going to be vastly improved. They signed Jokic in the offseason. A lot of people don't know Will Barton can play, but I'm a fan of that backcourt also. Combination guards, either one of them can handle or initiate the offense. Both can shoot the three, both compete defensively. I really think they're going to be discussed when people talk about top backcourts this year.
For who else is the ceiling the roof?
Ceiling is the roof.
The ceiling is the roof for Karl Anthony Towns.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why I hesitated a little bit because people have slandered his name recently.
They sure have.
A couple of years ago, the GM said 40+% of the time he would be the guy they picked to build a franchise around over anybody in the league.
And what percent said it this year?
The year before last, it was 37-something. And last year, none.
Zero.
This year, none.
Zero.
None. None.
Zero.
None.
Zero.
And the way he played against Houston in the playoffs obviously was going on off the floor with the Jimmy Butler saga. A lot of his name has gotten attributed to that. I stand before you and acknowledge Karl Anthony Towns is going to be a problem for the league this year. He's going to take this slander personal and really ball. I'm talking about over 20.
You know who doesn't agree with you? You know who doesn't agree with
blocks.
you? Jimmy Butler doesn't think. Jimmy Butler, he's like, I'm so happy I'm not to play with Karl Anthony Towns anymore. Karl Anthony Towns didn't sign the extension until they said they were going to trade Jimmy Butler. I mean, is there a chance that they play together in the same team?
There's a chance because when the owner opens his mouth and says, I want him traded by Media Day, and Media Day was 48 hours before he said it, I knew that wasn't going to happen, so therefore there should be a scenario to where they're playing together.
So these are players that are going to catapult themselves into household names. These are players that are going to explode this year. For what players is this going to be a lost tape year? You know, and the lost tape year is you're like, oh, wait, they're still in the league?
Yeah, it's tricky because, like, as I look at around the league, I'm like, wait a minute. The first thing that comes to mind is he playing with them?
It's time for the lost tape years. For whom will this be a lost tape year?
You just named the guy. Isaiah Thomas.
Oh.
Remember a couple of years ago when the Boston Celtics were the number 1 seed in the East and he was an MVP candidate?
Yes, I do.
Averaging 29 points. And then that level of value garnered him to be a lead domino in trading for one Kyrie Irving. And then he's obviously injured, gets traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, and becomes a substitute.
Yes.
Okay, now he's playing for a coach that he already played for in Denver. Nobody's talking about Isaiah Thomas. I want to say the squad that drafted me, if and when he gets healthy, Isaiah Thomas is going to be a really productive player for the Denver Nuggets. And the reason why I'm calling it a lost tape year,
What's that?
they ain't going to be able to keep him. Somebody else going to come and find him and scoop him up, and he's going to be somewhere else next year.
I think last year was a lost tape year for Isaiah Thomas. This is crazy what's happened to him. I'm rooting for him, but this is going to be a lost tape year. Someone else is going to be a lost tape year for?
Who's your lost tape?
Marc Gasol. Marc Gasol. I mean, he was. Remember we were talking about him as Defensive Player of the Year and MVP candidate a few years ago, and then the Grizzlies haven't gotten better. They haven't gotten better. He kind of pushed out Fizdale. Remember that tension between them two? You just don't hear much about Marc Gasol anymore. And Pau Gasol, he's still in the league.
He's still in the league.
This is going to be a lost tape year for Marc Gasol. It seems like we've seen the best of Marc Gasol. It's behind us.
I got one more for you.
What's that?
Lost tape year.
Who's that?
Peace up. A-Town down. The Atlanta Hawks, period.
The whole franchise?
Yes, this is going to be a year when they look back and they try to accomplish their goals, and they're going to say this year was one that helped catapult us there, because they're going to struggle this year. Trae Young is going to have his highs, he's going to have his lows.
Yep.
But you ask the casual fans, hey, name me two guys that play on the Atlanta Hawks. They're not going to know. So much so that Vincent Lamar Carter is playing with them this year.
No, Vince Carter's
I played with Vince in the early 2000s. He looked down at that roster. He's practicing with them right now.
Well, you could say that Vince is a keep getting them checks player. And when we come back, we'll continue to preview the 2018 season, and we'll list our keep getting them checks players this season.
God.
Okay, let's go. Get right here. Yeah. During the